Right, I'm just going to give you a little, some of you, those who are interested, a little bit more into how we can actually start using these different commands in Ionic and how they can actually be used to our Pro or just to make something a little bit more fun. So what we're going to be using or doing is we're going to be adding a little bit more to our slider here. And we're going to be adding a input field, kind of like we did with the searching class. And we're going to be using this input field to change the speed of our slider. So this one, so how fast it slides and everything. We can actually use an input field for that. And what we're going to be using, like we did in the class, we're going to type Ion, and then we're going to type search bar like this, because we want to be using this search bar here. And in this, we're going to be adding a little some things here, of course, for it to work. And also you can also just copy this from Ionic if you're lazy. But we need to have these brackets here, and we're going to type in Ion input, like the one we have online as well. Oh, sorry, it's actually not into this. It's in standard one like this, and Ion input, like that we go. It actually helped me now. And in here, we just wanted to grab our stuff that we want to change, and we're going to set this to something called set timer. That's gonna be our function, our variables that we're going to hit. And just like the one online, we're going to use the event. So once something is punched in, it knows it's going to send this information and change it to whenever it needs, of course. And that's kind of what we need. So I'm going to make sure I don't have too many of these going around brackets. There we are, 1, 2, that looks right. So now we have that set up. So if we go to the page, it might crash now. No, only if I start typing things in, then it go boom. Kind of like we did in the class with the search bar. So we need to declare different, go away and close. Awesome, now we have that set up. Now we can start adding things to this. So we need to use the sub-TS for this, and we're going to be adding as a first things first. So let's do some changes to our, let's just first start creating a sub here, where we have a, so before this was marked out, it says timer. That's kind of what we want to be using for some examples. And this is what we need, this is the name we need to call it, and we're just declaring that it's going to be a number. So the system knows it's always a number. I'm setting this to 1500 for now, 1500 milliseconds. That's kind of what I just want to say for now. And then I can start using this information in my, I kind of want to use it the same way as I did down here. So speed, let's just do this for speed or loop or whatever, doesn't really matter. Autoplay, we can use that for that. But now we have a set amount of time up here, a timer. And going back to this, we can now start adding things to this. So let's start by into this slider top here. Let's do a autoplay. And now we use this autoplay, there we are. And now we're going to set this to timer. So instead of us, did it go nuts with it did, so mine created a squared bracket too many. But here I just added this part here. So autoplay in a squared bracket equals timer. And now I can save, and now I can actually go down here and just mark this one out, because now I have it up here instead. That's one way. So let's see if this works. It's still here, auto timer still works and everything. That's kind of just doing small weird changes, but that's kind of just one of the things we want to do. Next thing we want to look at is how can we actually start doing changing the speed of this, or adding a little bit more to this. So this is just one of them. Adding time is cool in this case, but we want to be able to punch in a new speed, right? So how fast it changes. So we're going to do the same procedure here, but we're going to using speed. There we are. So, and again, it does the same, so weird. If it does this, remember to delete it. And we're going to be creating a variable, and we're going to call it get speed, like so, and make it an empty here, empty parameters. And just save this for now. Now this HTML is kind of ready to be used, and now we need to actually create a variable that does all this speed control and everything. So we're going to do this after the constructor. Right now this is empty, so like this. We're going to add one called get speed, like this, and do our curly brackets after this one. And in here we're going to tell the system it's going to return So like we did before, return a variable. Here is going to be 2500. So it's just going to send the speed of 2500. So this is going to be the basic standard speed we're going to be using. So now it's the speed as a default is 2500. And that's kind of the next thing. Actually, I said it the wrong way at the beginning, but now I actually want to create something where we can set our speed instead. So this is just grabbing a default speed, and now we want to create something to set the speed instead. And this is where it gets awesome, because up here we have set timer. And this is what we're going to be using. I just want set time, not set timer. So just set time, so everything fits together. Now it also turned yellow. So do set time and not set timer, and then save, and then go back to your sub here. And then we're going to add or create yet another set time function here, where we can start passing in the information that we want. And since we're using our event here, we're just going to be using that. It's going to pass whatever we click here, so what number we click here, 25, 2000, whatever, we're going to pass this through. So we're going to use the EEV here. That's hard to say. And that's what we're going to do. And we're going to set this timer, because the timer we used from sub pages, that's what it's asking is it from here? Yes, that's actually what we want. And then we're going to equal this to plus EV, which is up here, and the plus is just a quick way for us to tell the system, hey man, this is a number, instead of having to declare it. And then we're going to use the target, so whatever we're writing in our what's it called, in our box up here. So let's try and see what happens here. So now this is as a standard speed, and if I just change this to 25, it should change it real fast. You can see now everything scrolls real fast, and if I go back to 3000, should click 1, 2, 3, switch. Yeah! So now we actually did a change through using these input areas in Ionic that it actually knows how to work with, and just changing this actual speed of the slider just by using an input field out here, which is awesome. So now we can actually start manipulating with our HTML just by using the input fields from this. We can even go a little bit further and adding a loop. So loop, 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 loop. There we go, loop. And it did the same again. And in here we can actually also use a statement. So right now we have a timer that's set for, what was it? I can't even remember. It was set for something, something. Let's figure that out. Oh yeah, up here 1500. And we can actually create a if statement in here if we want to. So if the timer is bigger than Deadpool, that was funny. If the timer is larger than, let's say, 500, do loop. So, oh god, it's going to be slow. Then it should continue to run in this. So once you go back to the first page, it should start again and then continue like this. So the if statement right now is true. But if I set it to if it's larger than 3500, which it isn't, then the system should not stop. It should just go through everything and then stop by the end. So once it returns to Deadpool here, it shouldn't continue looping and stop right now. And it. So I made an error somewhere. Yeah, just figured out what the error was. So right now we set the timer for larger than, if timer is bigger than this seconds, and it is, so we can see that right here, it is kind of bigger, but it actually continues to loop. That's because I forgot, because I'm a dumbass, to actually remove them down here. So we actually set them down here with speed and loop, so they would be overriding the things we just did. So remember to do this and go check out the stuff you did again, but that will make it work. So we just refresh and just go quick, 25. So if it's bigger, let's do a refresh, 25, switch, switch. Now it should stop. If it's back to Deadpool, and then stop the loop. And that's kind of how you can use the if statement.